If you've participated in any of our Smekens workshops or webinars or a PD in the last several months, then you know our phrase is teach on. Regardless of the classroom setting, kids need to continue to learn and we need to continue to teach. And that's easier to do when they're at home with devices and internet access. But Judy Kalick and her colleagues in Millersburg, Indiana said, but we don't have one-to-one situation. Our kids don't have personal devices and access to internet. And we're meeting in person right now, but we know it's coming, this remote at-home learning. And we can't do videos and we can't email them. So how do we teach on? What a great question, Judy, and a really unique situation to try to accomplish the teach on concept. So let me give you some thoughts. Okay, first, let's kind of look at this as a year, okay? And so you're meeting right now in person live, 6 feet apart with masks. Okay, and we're hoping to do that as long as we can. Okay, what I want to do is talk about when you get to this point in the year, when they're at home and you are mailing or delivering or parents are picking up paper packets, right? That's what's going to happen. And so this is teaching on. How do we do that? Okay, I think it's all about how you handle this in-person time now. I think right now you've got to really be thinking about two things. First, when you consider your year-long skills in reading, in writing, in math, whatever they are, when you consider your year-long skills standards you want to teach, okay, I want you to think about what are the foundational aspects of that skill right now. Not all of the parts. Let me give you an example. Writing a story. Okay, if we're going to do narrative writing, okay, that I got to teach that this year. Okay, so with your second graders, Judy, you're going to think about a story. Well, a story has a lot of things, right? I mean, characters can talk and we can really have a good setting and we can have multiple problems. Yeah, strip it down because that's later this year. Let's just talk about the basics of a story. You need a character who has a problem that gets solved. That's what I would teach right now. I would be very conscious of what I'm teaching right now, okay? And I would capture that learning. That's the first thing I would consider out of the two things I want to tell you. When you are meeting in person right now, you've got to really be planning for that, preparing for remote learning. And so what are the foundational skills I want to teach? Okay, I can't teach them everything about this skill. So I want to really, and so capture the learning. If you make an anchor chart, take a picture. If you make a sample on the whiteboard and write one together, take a picture. If you show examples, scan them, save them. Because when you send home a paper packet later this year, you want to be able to say, remember when we learned how, and you want to be able to review the content. Well, you can't review it in a video, right? You're going to have to review it in terms of text typed on an assignment sheet. And so you want to review those key points, but those visuals will go a long way. Yeah. Okay. Look at my screen here. So we're just pretending here. Let's say I taught them some key ingredients about a story. And I did teach them somebody wanted, but so then. And we even had a couple examples from class. And I saved them all. I took photos. I inserted book covers from Amazon that I just needed to add some visuals. But now look, boom, here's the assignment. So I would have a right-left T-chart that I would send kids with each of these paper packets. But in order to review, you have to have something to show, capture the learning. That's the first thing. Okay, the second thing I want you to consider now when you're in person and teaching those foundational skills for the year-long skills, okay, I want you to also be thinking about the task you're giving them and the next task remotely that you could assign. Remember, part of mastery is raising the rigor. And so you want your second task to be slightly harder, slightly longer, different genre. If it was math, this was a one-step math problem. Now it's two-step. So when they're at home and you're reviewing content, they're not actually doing the same level of task though. When you first taught the content, you gave a simple task, a short task, maybe even an oral task. All right, just simple. But when we review it through the paper packet, we remind them and then we slightly raise the rigor of the task. Heavens, you went from having class and peer support to no support. That alone is going to be harder. So really be conscious of what task am I giving and what task would be next. How could I slightly raise the rigor, change the genre, little longer text, whatever it might be. Judy, those are the two things I would be thinking of. And anybody who is full-time, live now with the chance of remote and no internet access in the future.